The vision around Xbox has really transformed over the years of people playing on multiple devices, people playing anywhere.
We know what players want. They want to game on their own terms.
This was a #1 request from our fans. We're working in close partnership with Asus on a brand new handheld called the Xbox Ally and the Xbox Ally X.
The best.
I mean, he said that this is what their players' #1 requested feature or something like that. Like, is that true?
It feels like we're finally hitting an inflection point now where I'm able to take the game that I'm playing on my beefy home PC gaming rig and take it with me on a portable device.
Yeah.
Big question a lot of players have is how are PC games going to play on a handheld form factor? The games are largely going to play like they do on PC.
Yeah.
The Xbox Ally.
And like I said earlier, like this was the dream. Like back in the, in like 2005, 2006, you had the Nintendo DS, you had the PSP, right? And you had the PS3 and 360. And it's like if you wanted to play a 360 game, like you only play that game wasn't out back then. But if you wanted to play Gears of War, right? If you wanted to play Oblivion, you want to be able to play those kinds of games on your Nintendo DS because the Nintendo DS had the power of a Nintendo 64. It could play stuff like Super Mario 64 or Mario Kart or whatever, but it wasn't going to have games like Gears of War or Oblivion or, any of these other new games. Like Cameo was another one that was out back then. And later on, you obviously had big games like Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare. You had games like on the PS3, Uncharted 2, The Last of Us, Uncharted 3. And none of those games would have been able to run on something as fragile, right? I'm not fragile. On something as weaker, right? Like the Nintendo DS. And so the dream is like, man, imagine a time where you're able to play the same games that you can on like a high-end machine and take those games with you and play them on a handheld device. And it just plays fine. Like, imagine that. This is it. We've reached it. You can go like think about it like Battlefield 6 is going to be playable on the Xbox on the ROG Ally. Like, yeah, it's not going to be like 120 FPS or whatever. It might even be 30 FPS. I don't know. But it's going to be playable. It's going to be possible. You have a game like I was talking about earlier about like Lies of P. You can pick up you can start playing Lies of P at home in your living room, whatever, your bedroom, and you can then pick up your ROG Ally, a ROG Ally now, like the old one, right? And pick up Lies of P in it. Start playing the game, and it'll, from exactly where you left off, that same save file, that same everything is going to go into your ROG Ally. Because it has cloud saves, right? And so you'll be able to resume exactly where you were when you were playing on your PC or your Xbox. And that's crazy. That's the dream, man. I find this very exciting. And stuff like this is going to make Windows and PC gaming even better.
Targets 720p.
And Xbox gaming.
While the Xbox Ally X targets 1080p. Most titles will perform between 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second, but certain games have the potential to hit up to 120 frames per second.
Yeah.
As frame rates rise and fall, variable refresh rate, or VRR, will deliver a consistent and fluid visual experience. Players can further fine-tune a variety of device settings in the command center, from optimizing battery life to remapping buttons.
Yeah.
The Asus Armory Crate has 3 distinctive
This guy's
settings that are
great.
really great. There's the silent mode where these dark
software.
gaming sessions you will have. There is a performance mode, so your battery life is optimized.
He's like their engine.
And of course, for the top performance factor, you would use turbo mode.
Like Director or something like that?
When we talk about optimizing for
Of id-Tech?
handheld, it's less about stripping games down
That guy knows
and
his
more
game.
about ensuring playing the game on a handheld is as easy and effortless as possible. Games that run at 30 frames per second or above will get a should perform well on this device tag.
Yeah.
Games that hit 60
That's
frames
good.
per second
Like
or
Steam Deck
above
verified.
carry a should perform great on this device tag.
It's like Steam Deck verified,
Games
kind
that
of.
haven't been tested yet will
But
have a
Steam
performance
Deck
check
verified
not
is not
available yet label.
About
As
performance
more
so
games
much.
are tested, updated, and optimized for handheld, these labels will evolve over time.
This is about giving players a device with no obstacles to fun. So one example is making sure that it's going to work seamlessly with a controller. Are all menus and prompts working as intended? And are those UI elements properly sized for the smaller screen?
Yeah,
Another example
that's
of an
true.
essential compatibility feature is having a gamepad keyboard If a game passes all these checks, they're considered handheld optimized and will be labeled as such. On the Xbox home screen, you'll find a new handheld optimized channel that will curate these titles for players.
We test on the Ally all the time as we're building Roblox. For a player, that means more immersion, better graphics, smoother animation. You get to play games the way they were built.
If you're playing Doom the Dark Ages on the PC or the console, you expect an ultra-responsive, fast action FPS experience.
On your Xbox Ally, Doom the Dark Ages will be every bit as fast and responsive as you'd expect.
That's crazy.
One of the awesome things about PC
That was the game
is that
director
there are
of,
so many places to get your
Doom
games.
games.
We think about having this unified game library and how it can bring your entire game collection together.
Any recently downloaded and played games from other PC game stores, from Battle.net, the Epic Game Store, Ubisoft, Steam, GOG, or EA, the Xbox app automatically finds them and will show them in your game library. And right on the Xbox home screen, under Most Recently Played.
My most recently used game should be something that sticks with me everywhere I go, creating a unified user experience.
You're going to see games you've played on Xbox. If it's a PC native game, you're going to be able to play it right there. If it's a console-only game, you're going to be able to stream it from the cloud. If you're down in your basement and you want to stream direct from your console that you've got upstairs, you're going to be able to do it.
I'm able to continue to experience the
That's
worlds
true.
and
You can do some of that
characters
stuff
that I
now.
love anywhere that I want to play. This is going to be awesome. Now we literally have a device that could go with you everywhere.
And keep in mind, this thing is not gonna be Nintendo Switch 2 price. Yeah, Nintendo Switch 2 is $450, right? It's not gonna have that sort of price tag because the Nintendo Switch 2 is, you know, it's a console. It's sold. I wouldn't say it's sold at a loss, but it's sold. It doesn't. There's not much money that's made on the console because Nintendo and Sony, right, and Microsoft historically make their money on the platform itself. So selling games on that platform, if players buy microtransactions, you know, and things like that, they get paid. They get a cut of that, of everything that you do that generates money. And if you're Asus, you're just a hardware manufacturer, right? You make your money off selling hardware. You don't have a Steam. There's no Asus Steam that I know of, you know, right? And if there is, nobody really uses it. And it's the same thing with Lenovo. It's the same thing with MSI and Zotac and, you know, all these other companies. And so they have to make money on the hardware. What they sell is hardware. How they make money is by selling hardware. So they're not going to be selling this stuff, you know, to the point where they lose money like the PlayStation 5 or like the when the Series X launched, it was sold at a loss. They're not doing that because then they'd just be bleeding money. They'd be giving these things away. So they have to charge more, a bit like Apple, really. But Apple kind of gets a bit of both. But they still are primarily see themselves as a hardware company, and they sell their hardware at a premium. You know, so this thing is gonna be probably like, you know, $700, $800 or something like that. And I know that there's two versions. I think the version that's smaller, like cheaper version, is gonna be cheaper, but I don't think it's gonna go below $500 for the cheaper version. And I'm talking about USD. So let's take a look at that other video we were looking at. And let's see it here. Past the introduction.
Software. So take a look at this. It's, you know, it's your Xbox. It's like the Xbox app, right? And it's very familiar if you have a handheld with Windows, you know how this goes. But watch what happens when you get into the nitty gritty. So here's a great example. When I decide to swipe up to switch my tabs, right? I mean, you can see for yourself.
Yep, like
They've
a phone.
thought this through. If I hold down this Xbox button, it'll take me to basically my tab manager, and it's extremely controller friendly. And it is so fun to finally mess with literally Windows, but a handheld version of it. And you can see right here, I can switch back into like your normal Windows mode. There's other things too, like take a look at the Xbox game bar. So when we're playing a game, if I press this button right here, boom, I've got a new version of Armory Crate. Like this thing has, I mean, the UI is obviously different. It feels a lot more responsive, and maybe I'll explain that later.
And like I said earlier, Armory Crate is just Asus's own. It's like an app that they put into their devices. It has specific ways to control their devices. Like you see here, it has an operating mode where you can choose to have like a silent mode where I guess the fan isn't moving very fast or isn't moving at all, but it doesn't use as much. It doesn't suck as much power, so the battery life lasts longer, right? Or you can go turbo, right, and that uses way more power, but now the device runs faster. So you can do all these things in there, and most of these companies have their own version of this because it's kind of like a branding thing for them. This isn't like a Windows thing; it's an Asus thing. Since this is an Asus device.
But yeah, you've got your stuff, but it looks so clean and it's super responsive. But then check this out. I go to this home button. I've got my recents or my most played, my library access. You can see Steam is on there. And then if I go here, look at this. I can change the brightness, the freaking you name it, the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth.
I wish you would have clicked on Steam to see what happens.
With the press of that button, right? You don't have to go out of the page, and
mouse
open
and keyboard mode or
settings and
something?
this and that. Then there's some other stuff, the social tab, which is cool. Actually, that's actually super convenient, especially with Battlefield 6 coming out. Performance overlay. And then, here's the big one, widgets. So third-party developers can come in and install their own little widgets. So like you've got Spotify, for example.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, they have the AMD
so
control panel, and it says it's paid. I don't know why. I guess it's a bug. It's like, why is AMD charging for the AMD control panel?
Spotify, for example, they've got their own little widget. Discord might be coming out with one. You've got a bunch of
that makes sense.
Cool little things you can do. And yeah, I mean, it's so cool to see this coming from Microsoft and, Windows.
Yeah, so I guess that the Spotify would let you just play music while you're playing the game.
You can tell, and I talked to them about this. I talked to Microsoft about this, or Xbox. They're firing on all cylinders to bring us this awesome user interface on Windows. They now have dedicated people focused purely on making just gaming on Windows with handhelds as seamless as possible.
They have to.
So when these handhelds
this thing needs to control
and people
like an
start
Xbox.
submitting in bugs or just having inputs and ideas of what they could do to improve, Xbox is going to freaking listen as much as they possibly can. And they say they are.
Oh, this is a remaster.
And they're going to implement basically everything that we would want as a gamer with our handhelds. So that's a huge thing that they're pushing for that. It's all super snappy and it feels natural, right? If you know Windows, you could try to make things feel snappy and more like a console experience, but it's always going to be Windows.
Yeah.
What I've noticed is with this whole setup, the Windows stuff, it's kind of gone. Low key based off what I'm playing with. The crazy, look, you swipe up and you change the tab, right? Or some things they don't respond properly. You press a button and
there's the Windows
Armory
desktop.
Crate
So if you
pull
tap
up.
there, it'll take you to
Everything
the Windows
pops
desktop,
up
like a Steam Deck.
when you click the button to activate it. When you want to switch tabs, it instantly goes in. There's no latency. It just feels super clean and super freaking smooth.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's talk about the freaking hardware. So this is, oh man, I'm telling you, I'm getting giddy with this one because you're just seeing collaboration at its finest. I really feel like that. And that's just not me off my dopamine rush of being out here. And you know what I mean? I was talking to one of the guys. I'm like, this is the kind of handheld you would have where you'll be on the bed, and you'll actually turn to your side.
Where's this bed at?
And still be playing on it, with
Where's
no
he at?
problems. Does that make sense? It's super grippy.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is not going anywhere. And if you compare it to...
Yeah, the only thing is that I do wish... You see how it has the M2 and the M1 button? The Steam Deck has 4 buttons on the back, which is perfect. Because Valve already had the Steam controller before the Steam Deck came out, and the Steam controller was a prototype, I guess, to a lot of the stuff on the Steam Deck. I had a few of those. The back buttons, there was 2 back buttons on the Steam controller. And, back then it was great. It was oh, this is good. But Valve learned from this. When they were making the Steam Deck, they said, hey, what would be better than 2 back buttons? 4 back buttons. And so they put 4 back buttons on the Steam Deck, and guess what? People fucking love it. I love it. I think the 4 buttons are amazing. There's a lot of things that they enable, including just the flat out not needing. Think you're playing so like you're playing on your PlayStation 5, right? And you're playing like Overwatch, right? And so you're using this finger to move. Lucio or whatever, right? Or Mercy. Lucio, he's like the skater that can skate on walls and stuff. And no, wait, it's this one. This was for move. This is to move, okay? And sorry, it's like mirror, you know? It's like a mirror. And this is to aim, right? And when you're doing that, you cannot press this and this at the same time, right? So on PC you can. So on PC you can duck, so you can press the circle button. Is this this is a circle button. You can duck to dodge, right? To dodge attacks. It's to juke headshots and stuff like that. You can press X, right? To jump, right? So you can jump and aim at the same time. While on console, you can't. You're moving around, you're aiming, you're shooting people. You got your back trigger here. You're pressing your back trigger. You're shooting people and whatever. And you cannot jump and aim and continue aiming at people at the same time. You have to stop aiming and then press X to jump, right? And then you can press X, and then you need to press X again on Overwatch to be able to walk on walls as Lucio. So this is Lucio example, right? And so, and then you would hold the X, right? And then you could let go, and then you would stop wall riding. So wall riding, while you're wall riding, you cannot aim. It's stupid. It's bad. And you think to yourself, who designed this? Well, it works great on PC because on PC you have a whole keyboard with like freaking 102 keys, so you can just press the space bar, while you're aiming with your right hand, right? You press the space bar to jump, and that has nothing to do with your right hand because your right hand is your mouse, right? And then if you wanna crouch, you hit the control key, and you can hit the control key, you can hit the space bar, you can hit shift, right? You can hit caps lock, you can move left and right, up or down. No, not just up, actually. You move left or right, up. You can crouch. You hit shift, and you can hit space all at the same time. So you can jump, you can wall ride, jump off the wall, crouch to juke and all of that while aiming and shooting people down. This is the problem with these controllers. These controllers are made for this stuff was great in the Super Nintendo era, where it's like, oh, you have a D-pad, just this, and you have this, and there's no control stick, and like you could play Contra, you could play Mario Brothers, and everything worked great. But the moment that you needed to move and shoot at the same time is where things got awkward. And unfortunately, you only have this thumb and this thumb, right? The rest of your hands are on the back of the controller. So there's no other fingers for you to be able to press these other buttons at the same time, unlike PC, where you can use all 5 of your fingers to press buttons at the same time, right? And so this is where back buttons come in. You put buttons on the back, right? And all of a sudden, if you want to hit X to jump, you can hit it with your pinky button. If you want to hit like this other controller I have here, if you want to hit X to jump, you can hit this button. If you want to hit crouch, you can hit this button, right? The crouch is circle. This is X, right? They don't have to be. You can bind them to whatever you want them to be. If you want to, do your ultimate ability, you also don't have to stop aiming, right? You can keep aiming while using your ultimate ability, because to use your ultimate ability, you would have to use triangle in Overwatch, right? And to reload, right? To reload, you don't have to stop, moving. You don't have to stop aiming. So you can reload. You can reload with this button, and you can use your ultimate with this button, all while still aiming, shooting, and killing. That's why 4 buttons on the back is perfect. It enables you to have a much more PC-like experience, because now you can use these 2 fingers. Right now, if you're gaming on console, you can use these 3 fingers. That's it. Unlike a mouse and keyboard where you can use all 5. You can only use 3 fingers. This to move and this to like press the R1 and R2 on the back, right? These two are R1, R2. That's it. These 2 fingers are useless. In comes the back buttons. Not anymore. So I took a while to explain that, but I've always been a believer in back buttons. I've been asking for back buttons since before the PS3 came out. And now that we have them with stuff like the Steam Deck, I'm just like, and controllers like these, you know, I'm just like, benissimo. So yeah, this is the only thing I don't like about the Ally is that it only has, what is it?
Grippy.
It only has 2 buttons. That's not the full. This is not the full Exodia, guys. Like you're still missing 2 pieces.
Like this thing is not going anywhere. And if you compare it to the Ally, let me take a look at this. It's actually kind of funny because once you get used to holding the Ally, the Xbox Ally, when you go back to an original Ally or any other handheld for that matter, there's definitely a huge difference. Like it's something that doesn't go unnoticed, if that makes sense.
Because it has those controller
like I'm
like
fully behind these grips.
These chunky
they
things.
may not look the prettiest, but they are sure
these protrusions.
So easy to hold.
The tentacles.
I mean, honestly, if I could compare it to anything as it would be, it's the Xbox controller.
Oh, okay.
It feels like that. It's got the same texture, same everything.
Another Xbox Ally.
And
it's different color.
Yeah, it's super familiar if you're like an Xbox gamer, you know what I mean? Now, when it comes to the differences between the Ally X or the Ally, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, it's like, it's the same family, but like, there's
and
there's
Liza
subtle
P looks
differences.
nice, man.
Obviously, the software experience is insanely different, but it's kind of the same when it comes to gaming. As far as performance goes, I wish I could freaking, run the benches, you know what I mean? These games played really, really good. But again, I don't know what the settings were and things like that. One thing I've noticed is the Xbox Ally, the white one,
it's going to perform something similar to like, because the hardware on this, it's the same hardware we've seen on like the other handhelds. It's a Z2 Extreme. If you don't know what that is, basically a 8-core CPU, and that 8-core CPU is Zen 5. It's AMD Zen 5, which is their latest, which is nice. That's nice. And on the GPU side, they have RDNA 3.5. And I got a bit of a rant on that. RDNA 3 sucked. RDNA 3 came out in 2022. And RDNA 3.5 isn't really much of a difference. I wish this was RDNA 4. Like the 9060 XT and the 9070 XT. Those are good cards. One of the big things about them is that they're actually pretty decent at ray tracing. They're not great at path tracing, but they are decent at ray tracing now, which is like huge because like RDNA 3 sucked at ray tracing. RDNA 2 sucked at ray tracing. RDNA 1 couldn't even do any ray tracing at all. It didn't support it whatsoever. So it's like it feels like we're still stuck in 2022, or really 2020. Because like even if you look back to like something like a 3070 is like better than RDNA 3 was, in terms of features. RDNA 3 just felt like it should have came out in like 2019 or something. So why are we still on RDNA 3? That's because AMD has issues getting their CPU team and their GPU team to be able to kind of line up together and actually release the technologies quickly. Unlike NVIDIA, unlike Intel, they just can't seem to get this right. And so we're not actually going to be, right now the plan is we're not actually getting RDNA 4 for handhelds, which is a big shame. We're going to be stuck with RDNA 3 seemingly for 5 years because it's not going to be till 2027 when we're actually going to get a successor to RDNA 3.5. So we're going to be stuck with these old ass GPUs that just are not that good. And this is why I'm kind of a little bit interested in what Intel's doing. Intel's got what they call Intel Panther Lake coming out later this year. And that's supposed to be, apparently they might put that on some handhelds. So, and it's supposed to be actually good. And it's supposed to be competitive with what AMD's doing here. So I would love to see Panther Lake be better than this. And I would love to see it in something like a ROG Ally in the future, or like an MSI. I remembered. Remember, I couldn't remember the name earlier in the stream. No, it's called the MSI Claw. Thanks, brain. It's called the MSI Claw. That's the MSI handheld. And it uses Intel parts. It doesn't use AMD parts. So yeah, this ROG Ally, it's still the same old stuff. It's still Zen 5. It's still 8-core CPU, Zen 5, and it's got a RDNA 3.5 GPU. And RDNA is not great. And it's old. So the performance is not going to be a big jump over like the ROG Ally X. It's just not. So that's the only disappointing thing about this. This device is more about the software, not really the hardware. And we only have AMD to blame for that. It can be. I'm very critical of AMD, by the way. I just sometimes it's like AMD, what are you doing? But yeah, AMD's got something good cooking. But it's not going to be out till 2027. It's basically RDNA 5. It's called. They're going to call it UDNA. And that's going to be really competitive with what NVIDIA has now. It's going to be able to do everything that a 50 series can do, like a 5060, a 5050. It's going to be able to do everything that they can do and then some. And it's going to be really nice. It's going to be a big catch-up moment. And AMD is going to go from RDNA 3.5 to RDNA 5. They're skipping 4. And that's why it's just taking so long. But it's 2027, man. That's 2 years from now. It's like, it's a long time. I wish you would have got an RDNA 4 now. Excuse me.
Super light. It's got a smaller battery, but it's still a big battery, but it's smaller compared to the Ally X.
Yeah, Ally X had a big ass
battery. It's pretty heavy, but it's not too heavy. And I know that with both of these handhelds, the battery lives are going to be really, really good, because that's another thing with this whole this Microsoft collab, this Xbox collab. You're working with the dogs that own the operating system. So they've been cutting out a lot of the background tasks and just things that don't need to be on it. They get rid of it and they really clean it up a bit. So performance is going to be a lot better. Battery is going to be a lot better. It's more streamlined towards gaming and only gaming. Also, another thing they're working on is like, typically when you boot into a game, you've got to, preload shaders. And it like takes a while,
Yeah,
they're claiming that like all that shader stuff is done while the game is being downloaded. So every time you press A to play the game, they want it to be as quick into the game as possible, which is super cool. So it's just like
this is huge for PC gaming. This is you cannot understate just how big this is. Because right now, so the way that it works on consoles and like a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X is that the Xbox Series X and the PS5 have one GPU, right? And so they have one GPU, they have one CPU. And so the shaders that are going to run, right? They can just say, hey, instead of having the Xbox or the PS5 compile those shaders so they can run them, instead, what if we just pre-compile them? And have them saved somewhere on the game file, and then just have the Xbox and PS5 just read off of that data without having to do the processing. It's like having a movie, instead of rendering a movie, you just have the movie in a DVD or a Blu-ray or something, and you just play it from the Blu-ray. And that's what they're doing. That's how it works, and that's how it has worked. And this is why on consoles you don't have shader compilation stutter. You don't have any of these issues with those kinds of stutters, because the console doesn't have to do the work, because the shaders are already downloaded into the game. They come with the game. The Xbox doesn't have to process them in that sense. It doesn't have to compile them. And on PC, because everybody has, different PCs with different things. You can have a 5050, you can have a 3080, you can have a 2080 Ti, you can have an Intel CPU, you can have a AMD CPU, and they're all different. And then, each driver is also different, right? So because of that, each shader has to be unique to each computer, each PC. So you cannot just download them with the game. Because if they included every type of shader for every type of PC combination that existed, the game will be like massive, like multiple terabytes big, the download of the game. So they just can't do it. Instead, they make you compile the shaders after you download, install the game, and start running the game. And sometimes the compilation of the game, the compilation of those shaders is done when you're playing the game. And when the compilation is done mid-gameplay, what happens? You get stutter because your CPU is busy compiling shaders instead of playing the game. That's why you get the stutter. So this is a huge issue. And what Microsoft is trying to do here is trying to have them compiled in the cloud and then, on a server somewhere, and then have that be downloaded with the game file. And eventually they want that for all games in the future, even games that are on Steam. And that's the beautiful future that I'm looking forward to, because it's like that's going to erase shader compilation stutter from existence if they can get this working. It sounds amazing. Massive upgrade from the way that things are now.
Play the game. They don't want to waste time. Another thing I noticed, I asked them about this, and they're like full force working on it. Sleep, right? Sleep function. We all care about a good device that can go to sleep when you put it to sleep.
Yeah, and it's important for handhelds.
So with this setup right here, with the Xbox software, sleep mode is going to be standby, but the power draw has been compressed. So typically, like, if you're on a Legion Go, for example, and you put the device to sleep, like, it still draws quite a bit of power and will also turn on every once in a while. With the Xbox Ally, it'll draw power, but like super, super small power. And then they don't want those accidental turn-ons or things like that. So they're going to work on getting rid of those by the time it's like, also freaking Germany is sick. I'm like so tired, but like freaking Gamescom is wild. There's like so much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I met developers of like the games that we love to play. DICE, I met some of the Battlefield guys. It's crazy how cool, like, seeing everything in front of you and the people that made the things that we love.
E3 used to be like this.
To see and like experience.
But better.
And Germany's cool. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. You don't have to sub if you don't want to. If this is your vibe, it's your vibe. Also, sorry the video is like so freaking choppy. I'm like in a hotel. I made half of the video there, and it's like.
Oh, so he got to take it to a hotel.
We'll be doing a lot of stuff on it that's a lot cleaner, so don't worry.
No, he probably was at a hotel where they had the Ally, because usually they don't let you take it with you, because they want to make sure they watch you, like, that you're following their protocols. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Thanks a lot. That the Cyber Dopamine, very good video. Thanks, man. Good freaking stuff. Is you learn more from YouTubers and the companies trying to sell the system. This is exactly what happened right there when we saw this video right here inside the ROG Xbox Ally, and then all they did was talk about, wow, our device is cool, instead of actually, like saying anything of substance. It's just like, yeah, you can play games on it. Okay, we already know that, but what about like the new stuff? What does it do that other devices couldn't do before? Yeah, I'm so curious. I want to see how this UI stuff is gonna work on this thing. I don't plan on getting one. This thing is not as interesting to me. I think that, as I talked earlier, RDNA 5, that's gonna be the big one. That's gonna be the huge thing. And so probably when the RDNA 5 comes out, like maybe I'll grab one of these. But that's going to be probably 2027, 2028, which is unfortunate. By then, the PS6 will be out and all this other stuff.